Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. So the picture initially will be a little bit horrible, but in the tests I've done, it has got a little bit better. So the Wi-Fi hasn't been as great as it's sort of advertised on Celebrity Edge. Sorry, I've got alarms going off. But in the tests I've done, sometimes it's been a little bit of jarring with the picture. The picture's got much better. Sometimes the picture might hold, but the audio keeps going. So I'm going to keep trying, and hopefully it will all work out well. So if it gets really bad, then we will stop the live stream. So here I am. I'm on board Celebrity Edge. I'm in my cabin, which, if you're interested, is a Sky Suite. I originally booked an Aqua class, and then I went on Silhouette and had the retreats, and so I decided we wanted to go on the retreat. So I got the kind of entry level. The retreat here is really quite something. I can talk about that later if you like. We've just left Corsica, and we're sailing towards Portofino. So if you have any questions, there's some there already, whether it's about Celebrity Edge or anything to do with cruising for the next 60 minutes, I will do that, and I will answer those. So lots and lots of regulars there in already, which is fantastic. Just checking. And I'll answer your A.E. Robinson question and as we come to it. So I was just checking that it was doing. So let's get going. Sherry's here, Mick's here. So let's start off with a question from Mick. Our first post-COVID cruise begins in 2 weeks. We typically enjoy sharing a dining table with other guests. Do you recommend dining solo to avoid COVID exposure? Thanks and cheers. So important thing, what Mick has done, as you've seen, he's written the word question there, which is really important because it helps me pick up the questions as they come through. So Mick, I think the answer has to probably be very much around what you are comfortable with. Certainly what we're seeing across ships is there seems to be fewer cases. I mean, even talking to the crew here, things are much more relaxed. I mean, I've noticed that even outside, so for example, on the Magic Carpet, the bar staff don't wear a mask. They clearly don't have to wear a mask. I've noticed on the pool deck, some of the crew are wearing a mask, some aren't wearing a mask. So clearly, even when crew are outdoors, they're allowed to not wear masks. And as you know, there's been some lifting of some of the different testing protocols by the various lines. So I think it does have to be a lot with what you're comfortable with. You know, some people are always masked on here and avoiding it, but you're going to be going excursions with people. And now largely since the cruises I've been on, now you don't have to wear a mask and stuff on excursions. So it really, I think it's really what you are most comfortable with. I think it's hard to have a diehard rule on that. Certainly people are mixing much more. I'm certainly seeing that. So Hetty's here, Beth's here, loads and loads of people here, which is great. So Claudia, I don't think it's a question. So I'll put Claudia's up. Fellow head over heels, loves to travelers. That's always good. Have cruised 4 times in the last year, going to Alaska on the 27th on Eurodam. Fantastic. So very envious of that. So here we go. Claudia has a question, and she's written the word question, which is always very helpful. What option do you suggest for a first European cruise, a med cruise, or a med/Europe plus reposition cruise? I love sea days. Claudia, so I actually have, I'll do a bit of promotion here. I have a video which talks a little bit about Mediterranean cruises and choosing Mediterranean cruises, etc. I would say, Claudia, if you do want to see the Mediterranean, I would go for a proper, full-on Mediterranean cruise, because although if you love sea days, then you're going to have fewer of those in a Mediterranean cruise. Many of them will have maybe 2 sea days. This one we've only got 1 sea day, but often you have 1 or 2 sea days. That's just on a week-long cruise. If you go for something longer, you'll have more, also depending where you're embarking and so on. But you are going to get to see much more. This like the Western Mediterranean that I'm on now, you're going to get to see so many incredible places because you'll get to see Rome. Either in my case, it's a pre-stay. Barcelona, and this one will also be a post-stay. But you're going to get to go to Livorno and be able to go to Florence and Nice, Portofino, when you can go to Cinque Terre. I think I pronounced that incorrectly. You're going to get to go to Nice or Cannes or Saint-Tropez. So I would definitely do that. I have a video around the Mediterranean, and I would strongly recommend that in the video. While I'm talking about videos, by the way, just a little aside, I talk videos, is because we're doing this on a Sunday, this week's video came out yesterday. So it's been out for 24 hours, and it's had 69 1,000 views already. So it's definitely a topic I should have done even sooner than that. So if you haven't watched that, I'll give you a reminder at the end. So Bob's here. Good morning from San Diego. So Peter asking a question, and this is a question I get asked quite a lot. So it's a good one to have. So Peter is asking, can you disembark in an earlier port than the last port? If the last port is Dover and the second last is Amsterdam, can you leave the cruise in Amsterdam? Now, the ability to leave and not leave varies a little bit by destination and by cruise line and so on. So as a general rule, it's not possible. However, some cruises are set up specifically to allow people to embark and disembark within Europe. So MSC, for example, during the summer season, they basically run a rotation where they basically call them the same ports. They just go round and round and round the same ports, and people can embark and disembark, and they can book, but they again, they embark and disembark at the same port they got on. So you need to talk to the cruise line and see if that is a possibility, because clearly there is some flexibility, because they'll sometimes bring entertainers on and entertainers off, or sometimes crew might join partway through. But generally speaking, it's quite tricky and problematic, and it does vary a lot. I've had quite a few people asking this, and I encourage them to talk to the cruise line. The question has often been no, and that's to do with countries and immigration stuff. Now, because on this one, it may be slightly more complicated, because because obviously the UK is no longer in the EU. We were never in the Schengen zone. Obviously, Holland is within the Schengen zone. So getting off a ship within the Schengen zone country may be easier, but you're now going to a third country, or even it was a non-Schengen country before. So it's a little bit more problematic. So the general no, talk to the cruise line and see if there's opportunities. I have embarked cruises which are not the starting point, but never disembarked. No, that's not true. I disembarked once in Iceland, which was arranged through the cruise line for a group of us. So ask the cruise line and see if that's possible. Bob saying similar things. Debbie, hi there. How are the service levels on Edge? We're booked to go on her in November. Any waits for drinks and food? So I have overall found the service pretty good, but I was actually talking to someone who follows the channel, actually about half an hour before this, Roger, who was saying that he's finding the service quite slow. Now, I'm, because I don't really use the bars, we've only been on, this is only our second night, and I don't use the bars because I don't drink alcohol, so I haven't been to any of the bars and such yet, but he said that he found there was a wait for stuff. Generally around the place, I've found service pretty good, in the coffee shop, the restaurants, drink service at lunch. I went to the World Marketplace today for lunch. And I found it pretty good. They're certainly busy around the pool. But it's a good question to ask, and I will keep an eye out for that much more, talk to more people and get a view, because cruise lines are still struggling to, fill the ships. You might have seen that Princess have cancelled some sailings because it was a Diamond Princess. They're not, delaying bringing it back into service because they can't get enough crew. And the crew aren't, it's all new crew and stuff. But certainly so far, it's been good, but I will keep an eye for that, and I will certainly cover that much more. So Claudia, hi there. For a first-time Panama Canal, should I pull out all the stops and book an old locks full transit, or any option works? I hope to cruise often, won't be my only time. So Claudia, again, I'll punt a video. I have a Panama Canal video, which is an updated video I did based on the trip that I did in February this year on Oceania. I would go the whole hog, because it is an incredible experience. And, even though one intends to cruise many, many times, you may only ever get to do it once. And I think the full transit is really quite magnificent. Partial transit is great too, if that's all that you can do. Sorry, I need to stop that going. Sorry, there's my alarm. I hadn't switched it off to remind me that I was live streaming. So it's an incredible experience. If it just works out and you're going to do partial transit. The great thing about doing a partial transit is normally once you get up to Gatton Lake, there are various excursions you can go on while the ship heads back down. You can obviously stay on the ship, but if you go on excursions, you can actually do the rest of the Panama Canal on a smaller boat, and then they just bus you back to the ship. and the ship waits for all the various tours to come back. So that is another option. But Old Locks full transit is for me, a definite thing to do. Tom and Dom Traveller here, which is great to see. Jacob, Patty. A.E. Robinson, I promised that I would answer this question earlier on. So let's see if that's going to come up. I'm just keep watching. There does seem a little bit the Wi-Fi is playing up a little bit. So hopefully I'm not stopping too much. So A.E. Robinson, have you done a behind-the-scenes tour on celebrity cruises before? Not on celebrity cruises I haven't. I've done on many other lines. Now, most lines had stopped doing behind-the-scenes tours during COVID. Now, the good news, there's good news and bad news, is Celebrity have reintroduced behind-the-scenes tours, but instead of doing 4 or 5, they're only basically doing 1, and it was sold out. But I went to talk to the lovely lady in the retreat lounge, the concierge, and said, if anybody cancels, there's any way you can get me in. And they confirmed last night that I'm doing the behind-the-scenes tours now, which is great. So I haven't done on Celebrity. This is the first time I'm doing it on Celebrity, and it'll be interesting to see behind the scenes on Edge. But if you are ever interested in behind-the-scenes tours, like they were telling me, they normally run 4 to 5 on a sea day, and then now because of COVID, they're only running 1, and there's much more restrictions around time you can spend, like on the bridge and stuff. So I know we have to wear masks on certain parts of the tour and stuff like that. So unfortunately, the frustrating thing about behind-the-scenes tours is they normally don't let you take any photographs and definitely no videos. So if they are a bit more lenient, hopefully I'll be able to get some footage. Bob asking the question, how is the retreat experience? And I know Bob has we don't have a hidden agenda because Bob had a Princess cruise cancelled and has booked Celebrity and in the retreat. I can't remember which ship you're on, Bob. I love the retreat experience. As I mentioned earlier, I had originally booked Aqua because I wanted to go to Blue because up until the time I originally booked this, I'd only ever been in like concierge class and stuff on Celebrity. So I'd booked thinking I want to go into Aqua. Then I went last year on Silhouette in retreats and loved it there. But the retreat is kind of retrofitted on the Silhouette. Edge, it's built as a hot experience. And so far it has been fantastic. And I'm going to do a little a video short on it. I haven't finished filming the bits and pieces of it, but I will do it. And I'll obviously cover it in more detail in the longer videos. But it is a great experience. Now, I did actually have some emails from people who are a little bit put out by the retreat experience on things like Edge and Apex, because it does take up quite a lot of the ship. But anyway, so you've got the lounge, which is a beautiful lounge. It's a really big lounge. You have the concierge help in there. And then you have different little snacks there during the day. They have breakfast snacks, little afternoon tea snacks, canapé snacks. They have a little outside open area. Then you can go up to the retreat deck, which is really big. It's got like a plunge pool. It's quite a big plunge pool, a hot tub, a bar. You can have lunch there. They have a lunch menu. It's right on the front of the ship. Has great views actually for sailing out and stuff. It's really great. Very nice seating. Then you have the restaurant. Now the restaurant is fantastic. I really like the restaurant. The Lumini restaurant. The food is really, really good. It's the menu's not massive, compared to say Queen's Grill on Cunard. It's not as big a menu, but it's a really, really nice menu. And I've posted a couple of things on my stories. So on Instagram stories and on YouTube stories, I post multiple stuff during the day. I posted some stuff there, some little video stuff of last night's dinner, for example. So I really, really like the retreat experience. The check-in was amazing for Edge. It was really quick and early. We have two tender ports, and we have priority for those, although they actually give all their certain levels. So actually I qualify for things like that on 2 levels. One, because I'm that level now on Celebrity, even though I haven't done that many cruises on Celebrity really, and through the retreats. And then on Chic Night, which it is tonight, they also have a reserved area for the theatre as well, which if I remember from when I was on in Silhouette, your butlers all mill around. And you also have the butler, by the way, as well. So I got to see, I'm actually asked this next question because it sort of links on from Bob's question. So hopefully that's answered your question, Bob. If not, ask some more. So Susie Sams, I'm doing the transatlantic in October. I'm booked in an Edge villa, but have a move up offer to a penthouse, but not sure if I try or not. Which one do you think is the best location? So Susie Sams, I got to see an Edge Villa because someone who follows the channel, a couple who follow the channel, I bumped into on the first day, and they just moved into their Edge Villa. So I got to see their Edge Villa, which was very nice indeed. And now I haven't seen the Penthouse. So the Edge Villas are quite forward on the ship because they're right part of the retreat deck. I don't know where the Penthouse is located. So obviously transatlantic, you may have more movement and stuff. You are kind of forward from that. I'm not 100% sure where the Penthouse is located. I have a feeling it's also a little bit more forward because they've got a lot of those premium suites really close to the retreat, to the retreat lounge and deck and stuff. But certainly the Edge Villa is really fantastic. So I'm sorry I haven't really helped you. I do have some foot on that Instagram, on the Instagram stories, but certainly on the YouTube stories. I posted a little video clip about 20 seconds, 25 seconds of an Edge Villa, if that's of any interest. Better Ikan has left me a $10 super sticker. Thank you very much for that. I haven't seen if you've asked a question. If you have, I'll try and come to that. So Vicky Jones 007. I've wondered if you ever get bored on a cruise. Vicky, I have never been bored on a cruise. And I obviously have done a lot of cruises. This is my 95th all-time cruise. And I've never got bored, partly because I do quite a lot of work. I'm obviously videoing and running around and stuff, but I'm always generally kind of, I'm excited about the next port or planning for the next port. So I don't think I've ever got bored on a cruise. I have been on a cruise thinking I'm looking forward to it finishing. A cruise I was once on years and years ago on Costa, which I went on. It was a relatively inexpensive cruise, and I thought I'm going to try Costa, and I really didn't like Costa at all. And I wasn't bored, but I was just not enjoying the ship and the food. And there was only maybe 20 English speaking on the whole trip and stuff. So, and they didn't really cater that well for English speaking guests. So at that time, I'm sure they're probably better now. So that was the only time. So another question from Claudia. I'm going to have a slurp here. Is Celebrity Edge a lot more amazing than other celebrity ships have been on Equinox? Claudia, it is very, very different. So I'm going to move that a little bit forward. Yeah, it's very, very different. It is almost like being on a different cruise line. And I think, having only toured Edge before, and, when it came out of the shipyard, it was in Southampton as part of a Clear conference, and they gave people an opportunity to tour it. But having not been on, and now it's full of passengers, everything's in place and up and running, it does almost feel like a different cruise line. It's a very different experience. The ship, the layout and the feel and everything is very different, because obviously on the Solstice class ships and the Millennium class ships, they've updated those, but they're still, the traditional cruise ship kind of layout. So this does feel very different. I really like it. It feels very modern. It feels very contemporary, and it's very youthful. And one of the things, which is not quite your question, but I'm going to build it in a little bit more, I feel that I've seen I think probably what I suspect are die-hard celebrity people on board who are probably I feel like I see them sitting there looking, thinking, this is not the celebrity that I know. And I think that is going to be quite interesting to see how many, loyal, long-serving, if that's the right term, celebrity passengers prefer the Solstice class ships and the Millennium class ships. I mean, it's very interesting. Now, I know I'm on in August in the middle of, school holidays, vacation time, but I would say quite easily, I am probably in the top 20% age-wise of people on board. So it is much younger than any celebrity trip that I've ever been on before. And now I know it's the time of year. So, if I was on, maybe Equinox or something, it's not in the Med at this time of year, it would be so. But celebrity, it's much, much younger. It's much more youthful. Certainly when I've been on those ships, it's been more youthful than the Princess and the Whole America and the Entertainment has. But it's definitely, it's almost like, I almost feel like celebrity, and I need to think about this a bit more, but it's my thinking. I always feel like celebrity have almost become two cruise lines. You've got your more traditional ships, and you've got these new age class ships, which are really chasing a different user, very different experience. They do feel very luxurious. It feels very luxury, feels very plush. It feels like everything looks expensive. And I know the fares are expensive. You know, even the ice bucket, just looking at the ice bucket, looks expensive. You know, the fittings and furniture look different. So it is very different. And it is amazing. It is different. Debbie, hopefully you were here when I answered the question on how the retreat is. Hopefully I've answered that. Let's have a look. I'm just going to squish down and make sure, because I have been keeping an eye. It does tell me a little bit here on the Wi-Fi. So hopefully it's no one's saying it's too jarry. So that's good. I've lost my spot, but anyway, I'll keep going back. So let's answer this question, and then I'll find my spot back in the question. Here we go. I'm going on my first cruise in January in the UAE with Costa, and I'm worried about clothing. Not much information on what expected. Do you have any advice on this topic, please? So easy, direct. I guess you're talking about a couple of things. One of which I guess about the dress code, and then also maybe some of the ports that you're going to. So in terms of dress code, Costa is relatively relaxed, but most cruise lines are relatively relaxed. Even on here, you know, Celebrity has a dress code, but no one's paying enormous amount of attention to it. Partly because of the crowd, partly because of the weather and stuff. But they are relatively relaxed. They have, you know, their smart casual night, which you can wear short sleeved kind of polo shirts, a bit like I'm wearing. You can get away with jeans. They like you to wear long sleeve shirts, but it's not that necessary. Things like shorts and stuff you can't wear in the dining room at night. But if I remember correctly, you can go to the buffet restaurant. The thing you need to think about in UAE is, depending on where you go to, obviously there are more conservative dress codes in some of the places, particularly if you're going to temples or whatever. You know, the knees and the shoulders kind of cover stuff. So in Dubai, obviously, you know, people dress like it's a very liberal country. And one of the things when I was in Dubai, when we were there, I was going there on Cunard, and they were encouraging people to not dress, you know, in skimpy little outfits. But a lot of people, expats and visitors and stuff do. So sorry, I didn't mention chic night. So chic night, people will dress up, but it'll tend to be long sleeve shirts, smart trousers, ladies with nice dresses on. It's not very, 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 very dressy. You will actually find if there is, if you go to Cruise Critic and search Cruise Critic dress codes, they will list in the detail as well. And there's probably also a frequently asked questions on their site. So let's have a look. Jay Yan, hi there, Jay. Good to see you again. As usual, we love your shows. Thank you very much. How do you rate the balcony cabins and bathrooms on Edge? Is Celebrity good for Caribbean cruises? My husband and I haven't done the Caribbean yet. Okay, so the balcony cabins on Edge are very, very polarizing because they aren't balcony cabins. If you want an actual balcony, you need to be like in a suite, or I think some of the Aqua class may have old-fashioned traditional balconies. What you have on the Edge class ships, so that's Edge, Apex, and beyond, are the infinite balconies, which on the plus side, they make your cabin sort of 20% bigger, they say, but it is not a balcony. You have a sliding screen that comes down sort of halfway down, and then you have a little area where you can sit. So, but it's not a traditional balcony in the sense. So I actually have a balcony here because I upgraded into a sky suite. So so they are very polarizing. So if you take, for example, Paul and Carol, who are on Princess, but they were on Beyond, they rated and liked the infinite balcony. What they've said is they would never book an infinite balcony again. And I've seen that very, very polarizing. In terms of the bathrooms, they're fine. You know, they're a good size, and they're fine. Celebrity are very good for the Caribbean. My first couple of Celebrity were in the Caribbean. They know the Caribbean really well. They sell out of Fort Lauderdale. I know they were in Miami, but I think they're all out of Fort Lauderdale now. They run the East Caribbean, Western Caribbean. They have quite a few ships sailing down there. You can even do some Panama stuff. They're really good in the Caribbean. And ships like Edge and stuff are really designed. There's lots of outside space. You've got the big pool deck. You've got the you've obviously got the retreat deck. If you're in retreat, you've also got, I've forgotten what it's called now. Mine's gone blank, the big open deck area at the top there. But it's very open air stuff. So it's very, very good for the Caribbean. Definitely I would have them as a good one to go. Bill's here, which is great. Love Travel is asking a question around what cruise line would you recommend for Iceland? Now, I've done Iceland on a couple of times on Saga, and I've done on voyages to Antiquity. What I would recommend, Love Travel, is if you're going to go to Iceland, look at one of the smaller ship size lines. So things like Viking have a very good Iceland program. Azamara, Oceania, they all do really good programs around. I think even Hurtigruten does it, but I don't know that for sure. You can even go obviously on some of the ultra luxury ones, which are also smaller ships. The advantage of smaller ships is they can call into loads of really interesting out of the way little ports. Also, make sure you do the full circumnavigation of Iceland and get to see all the parts of it. Some lines will sort of go, they'll do a little bit of Reykjavik, go up so you can do some of the northern sites and stuff, but go all the way around because it really is magical. But I would recommend those smaller ones. So you've got some lines like Viking and stuff will have ships there, and they'll run loads and loads of itineraries. So those would be. Patty, could you please discuss the new Princess testing protocol? So as you've probably seen, it's all evolving very quickly. So different groups, the Carnival group, the Royal Caribbean group, the Norwegian group, have all sort of changed their various rules. So basically, as I understand it, and again, what I always say with testing protocols, because they keep changing, is if you're ever going on a cruise, read the 500 million emails you'll get. So on the Celebrity Cruise, I was getting an email every single day for 10 days before, basically repeating the requirements on testing, vaccinations. Before I went on America, the same. Before I went Princess, the same. So keep checking. But basically, a lot of it varies around where you are. So for example, if it's cruises less than 16 days, some of them you don't have to do it. It depends on whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, for example, in the UK, you do a self-declaration test. You don't have to. So that's not true also because you have to be vaccinated in the UK. So it's probably a bad example. So if you're non-UK, I'm trying to think, you still have to be vaccinated for the UK. See, that's what I mean. It's very complicated. So basically, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to test for cruises under 16 days. If you are unvaccinated, you have to have a test. So just watch those emails incredibly careful. Greg, as a person in a manual wheelchair cruising to Alaska for the first time, is there a long wheel from the ship to get to the town squares? Greg, it's going to vary a lot based on where you dock. So a lot of these places, the Ketchikan, Skagway, Juneau, where ships dock is very, 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 very spread out. So it depends a lot on where you're going to be docked. So, in Juneau, you could be docked, right way over there, or you could be docked right in the heart. Holland America ships tend to be the ones that dock the closest. We were on Princess, we were relatively close. Then we had Windstock came in and they were tendering people because there was too many. So it really varies. Now in Skagway, one of the docks is closed because of the landslide stuff. There was actually the furthest one away. And the other ones are a bit closer. In Juneau, it's the same thing. It's very, very spread out. So when we were there, it was a really long wheel. So it just varies enormously. So don't assume that it's close. And I'm trying to think if transport was laid on. I know when we were in Skagway, although that one's closed, there was transport laid on. So I would also double check with the cruise line if they know what pier you're going to and what arrangements they have for those. Chris Nichols, doing an AMA Vietnam cruise, arriving a day early just in case. Any must-see places in Saigon that the tour might not take us? Chris, I would check if they're taking you to the Presidential Palace. That for me was one of the most fascinating things. And a lot of the river cruise ones don't go there. So for example, when I went on Cross the Europe one, that wasn't part of the sightseeing, but it's really fascinating, the whole story of how it fell. And it's pretty well maintained, and the stories around that. Also, you can go out, which again was not part of my tour, but I did it as a pre-tour as well, is you go right out and you go through and see all the tunnels. I can't remember what the area is called, but you actually go and you see where all the various the Viet Cong tunnels and stuff were. I can't remember what it's called. It's about 45 minutes drive out of town. So those are the ones that I would do. The others, they're more likely to take you on a tour, like to the Opera House and all that sort of stuff. You'll go and see. But those were the two that I would say. They take you to the town hall and the Ho Chi Minh statue and that kind of stuff. They will include all that sort of stuff. But the presidential palace, not. I'm not sure why. And going out to the tunnels would be the ones. Just it's really, really fascinating. And they let you go through a section of the tunnels which has actually been widened out. It's mind-boggling what they did. Neil asking the question, we really enjoyed Celebrity Eclipse pre-pandemic. How would you describe the main differences now on Edge? So Neil, it links back, I don't know if you were on a little bit when I was talking today. It is a completely different ship. There's very little that is similar to the Eclipse or any of the Solstice class ships. I mean, it looks differently, obviously, from the outside, but inside it's completely different. So the cabins are completely different. As I was saying earlier, you don't have balcony cabins. If you go for a balcony, you have the infinite verandas. It still has inside an ocean view and stuff. They have this really integrated retreat experience for the suites. They have much bigger suites. So you've got like the iconic suite, and as someone was mentioning, the Penthouse, massive big suites. So some of the suites on the Solstice class are big, but then the venues are very different. So for example, there is no main dining room. There are 4 restaurants instead that you can rotate around, for example. So the specialty dining restaurants are also different. So they've got rid of most of the ones that you were familiar with, and they've got new ones on board here. The one they have kept raw we used to be called Sushi on 5. It's now called raw on 5, for example. But now they have the steakhouse, the fine chop steakhouse, which is I forgot what it's called, the one with the interactive plates and stuff. So they have different restaurants as well. They still have things like the club, but the club is completely unrecognizable from what you would know from Solstice class ships. It's a massive, big 2-level venue, for example. Kids clubs are enormous, much bigger. You've got the rooftop terrace. That's what I was trying to remember. So obviously on the rooftop. The rooftop terrace, where you'd have the lawn club on Solstice class ships. They've replaced that with the rooftop terrace, which is all these kind of seats and all sorts of stuff. You've also got the magic carpet outside, which is a bar. Most days it's used for tenders. That's the other big thing, is tendering off the ship is much easier. The whole magic carpet is really designed to make tendering off a big ship easy. So, and the tenders are much, much bigger. So they can take twice or more amount of people. I'll experience that tomorrow. What else is different? The decor, although they did update a lot of the celebrity ones, which I think are all done pre-pandemic. There's updated with the look and feel, but it's a very different look and feel. You'll probably recognize if you ever saw something like the Sky Suite or equivalent on the Solstice class. It has a sort of look and feel. So what else is really different? So other than everything, the coffee shop's still called Cafe Belbeaco, can I pronounce it correctly? The buffet is still called the World Marketplace. It still has those little stations, for example. That's still similar, but it is very, very, very different. I mean, I wasn't originally planning to do a video, kind of comparing the two, but I'd made some notes before I came on, and then having been on the ship and also with questions like this, I feel like I probably will do a video which is comparing the ships and talking about just how different they are, because I do think that, as I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if Neil, if you were here earlier, but I do feel like the Edge class ships for a different kind of passenger group. I feel like they're really doing that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Rob, I get asked this a lot. I'd love you to review the new Ambassador. They look great value for money. I haven't got any plans to go on Ambassador. I've been asked that a couple of times to review it. And I did look actually at some dates to see if I could squeeze something in with my plans. So unless anything changes, I haven't got any plans. I think I have a second ship coming along, so there may be more itineraries coming. I do spoken to a few people who've been on it, who found it, as you write, very good value. They said it was okay, but it was a very good value. They weren't blown away by it. They may or may not go back, but I think they probably would go back just because it was really good value. But I do get asked a lot, and I will see if I can do it because I've had so many people asking that. I don't have an answer to this question, but I thought I would put up there because if someone does. Any tips for sharing a quad room on an Antarctica cruise with strangers? So I know you can book. Some of those lines will offer that as an option. I don't have any tips. I haven't done it. It's it's probably my idea of hell, but I don't even travel. I've never gone cruising, for example, with my best friend because I would never want to share a cabin with them. So, sharing a cabin with Mark is about as far as I would go. But I think a lot of the people who go on those, the thing with the Antarctic cruise, I would say on a more serious level, is Antarctic cruises are very, very busy and very tiring because you're often getting up quite early. You're going out. You're very active. If you're not on an excursion, you're getting ready for an excursion. You're having briefings. And then people pretty much go to bed and are tired. So I think I think people will just get into a rhythm, and it'll be very much a shared experience because it's a real shared experience. You'll set some ground rules, I'm sure, and get going. So if anyone has any better tips than my terrible tips, please help. The traveling gentleman, in the past you mentioned you like trains, love trains. Would you ever consider going on the GAN, Roberts Trail, Orient Express? I've been on 2 of those 3. And I actually do have videos on both of those on my channel, believe it or not. They're very old videos and they're pretty terrible in terms of how I made them in those days. But absolutely, I of those, the 2 I've been on, Roberts Trail was my absolute favorite. It is an incredible experience. I've just been watching one of my favorite channels, if not my favorite YouTube channel as a viewer, is Trek Trendy. He mostly does planes, but he's started going on trains, and people love his train reviews. So maybe I should do the same as well, actually. But and he went on Rovis recently, and it just reminded me how fabulous it was. So I've been on the GAN, which I thought was absolutely fascinating, from Darwin down to Adelaide, which was really mind-boggling opening. I really want to do the Indian Pacific one, and I would love to do the Orient Express. I keep looking at the Orient Express, and it is horribly expensive for what it is. It says he keep going cruising all the time, but I will absolutely do the Orient Express. Tech Trendy also did Orient Express, but he went and did he got upgraded into, he did it sort of end of pandemic, and I guess they knew that it would get millions of views, and they upgraded and put him in the most amazing cabin. But yes, I should do more. If I do any more trains, I will definitely do it, and I would like to do more trains. I mean, we're talking about going to Australia maybe next Christmas, 2023. Again, we used to go to Australia a couple of years, and if we go to Australia, I definitely would like to do that Indian Pacific one. So yes is the answer. Long way of answering you. The short answer to that is yes, I think I should do. Ginger Nightmare. I'm on the Queen Mary 2 next Sunday. My stand is right above the G32 disco. They must have known I was coming. Cheers. Okay. So yeah, hopefully that's not too much of a problem, unless you're going to be the person there dancing every night. Let's have a look. Simone, as a huge fan of the Beyond, would I be disappointed on the Edge in comparison as my first cruise? Simone, you wouldn't be disappointed at all. The only difference in reality between Beyond and Edge is they have an extra deck, so which is basically of cabins. And I think as a result, they've made like the retreat lounges and stuff is a little bit bigger, but it's basically the same ship. It's the same. It's gone higher, so that's the same. Thickness is the same. Width is the same, and they put another deck on the top. So no, you wouldn't be disappointed at all. I think everything else is the same. I can't think of anything that's different. So DJ Afro Ash, have you ever done a cruise that's left Hong Kong or Shanghai? If yes, which line, and would you recommend it? So DJ, I have. I've embarked and disembarked in Hong Kong. I've never embarked and disembarked in Shanghai. Shanghai, I think there are some cruises, but I think it's only for Chinese passengers. Now, they used to do cruises, Star Cruises and Dream Cruises, which were part of the Genting group, Genting Hong Kong group, which also owned Crystal, used to sail out of Hong Kong and I think out of Shanghai. So I've done been into Hong Kong and Shanghai, but I've only ever done it on Cunard ships. I've done on Queen Mary 2, I've done on Queen Victoria, and I would. In fact, I was looking at one of the Japan trips. The Hong Kong one I did out of Hong Kong, we did Shanghai, and then we also did Japan. And another time we did it more where we were doing Shanghai, South Korea and stuff, Singapore and Malaysia. So in terms of cruise lines, there are now no real key players which are specific to the region. And many of them that are specific to the region tend to be catering more for Chinese guests, but there were certainly in the day, but until Hong Kong really lifts its, or China, Greater China, I guess, including Hong Kong, lifts many of its restrictions. No ships are going to sort of be based there, but you'd have things like Royal Caribbean and stuff that were either based out of Singapore or out of Hong Kong stuff. So a lot of it you need to do as part of more of itinerary. So a lot of Japan cruises going out of there. So I would look at all of the lines that go there at some point in time. So Honor America calls in there, Seabourn calls in there, Silver Sea call in there, Cunard call in there. And many of them call in there sort of March, April time, especially as part of their World Cruise thing where they hit that part of the region. So you can pretty much get any sort of ship doing it. So I would recommend, in fact, to go with whatever line you like the experience. So if you want something that's more party-like, more enrichment-like, or whatever, then I would choose that. So this is an interesting question, Farrell. Have you ever considered Swan Hellenic? Short notice solar supplement is very good. Just went to Arctic and would highly recommend. Excellent expedition crew and a great experience on board too. It's interesting. I was actually looking at Swan Hellenic just the other day when I was looking at different options for, I had a gap in July and I was looking at different options. And the only reason I eventually didn't, I actually booked a trip which goes from Edinburgh, from where I went from, because I goes from Edinburgh, does ports of Norway, goes to Kirkwall, goes to the Faroe Islands and up to Iceland. And the reason I did that is time-wise it fitted more than Swan Hellenic. So I've heard some very good things about Swan Hellenic. They have two ships. I guess they've got one now is at the Vega and the other one coming. And I've heard some very good things about them. So yes, I don't have any plans to do them now, but I definitely will keep an eye on them. Which is sort of linked to that. So Blue Nose 1022 now. I'm not sure whether you're talking Scenic River or Scenic Ocean. Both of those I have a very high opinion of. They really are kind of 5-star. People who like Scenic love Scenic. I've only ever toured Scenic ships. I haven't cruised on Scenic ships, but everybody I know who's been on Scenic absolutely loves it. It's one of my to-dos, absolutely. So here we go. How do you find a really good travel agent? I live in Tennessee, USA. Personal recommendation is often the best, and I can suggest someone in the US if you're interested. It's someone that follows the channel. Lots of people on the channel use, and I have suggested him. And so I think a lot of it comes through personal recommendation. My tip is go for someone who's an individual, ideally, who you can email, call, WhatsApp, whatever, rather than sort of someone who's part of a call center thing. So you have a strong personal relationship. So like I have with Sarah in the UK, I can call her, email her, WhatsApp her, whatever, and she's on the ball. She's like, it's very personal, and she takes my travel very personally. So that's what I do. So Gary Pluck is the person. He's with Red Travel. So that's who I would recommend. So if you look Gary Pluck, Red Travel, you'll find him. Rob asked a question about Ambassador. I can't remember if it's the same one. But anyway, hopefully you've heard the answer on Ambassador. Ton of YouTube. Hi there. Tony, is that right, Tony? There you are, Tony. What are your suggestions for a 10 to 11 day cruise in the Western Caribbean? Which cruise line? So actually, if I was doing a 10 to 11 day, I would also look at the Southern Caribbean. Now, if you really have your heart set on the Western Caribbean, but the Southern Caribbean is quite a nice itinerary for 10 to 11 days. There's some very nice Honda America ones. I think Celebrity might do a nice 10 to 11 day one as well. And you get right kind of down some of the less, I mean, they're all touristy places. So it doesn't really answer your question. Tony, a lot of it depends, if you want to go to the Western Caribbean, what sort of experience you want. But you're right, many of them do 7 days. I do know I have seen Celebrity do some 11 and 12-day ones, some longer ones. Horn America do. Then, of course, I'm trying to think if any of the more resort lines like Royal Caribbean, they tend to do more shorter ones like 7. But I'm trying to remember because I was looking at a Royal Caribbean one. But those are the ones that I personally I would recommend. If you really want to go really expensive, you can do an amazing Western Caribbean on Region 7 Seas if you have lots and lots and lots of dosh. So the broad question I've asked. Okay. Jerry asking the question, is it best to wait until the last moment to pay the balance for pre-booked cruises or pay in full when booking? So Jerry, I would always recommend paying towards the last minute. And the reason being is if you're tracking fares, which you should absolutely be doing, and the fares shift, if you haven't paid the final balance, you have much more options. And one of the key options is depending on the cruise line, they will reduce your fare. So if you're talking like Celebrity or Caribbean, they're particularly good at that. Norwegian, less so. You have to argue much more. Some of the Carnival group, you have to argue much more. But if you haven't paid your final balance, you have a chance of getting that fare actually reduced if there's a new lower fare. If fares have gone up, they're not going to make you pay more. Also, of course, it gives you time to save up. If you've paid the final balance, you have much less negotiating power. I mean, in some cases, I have seen it happen where, particularly if you've paid a really low deposit, and if the fares have gone down dramatically, in some cases, you can actually cancel, lose a little bit of deposit, and book and still save money if you haven't paid the final balance. So that's generally what I would do is aim to pay kind of as late as makes sense, and track fares. Ross has left a super sticker. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. So let's have a look. Sorry, I squidged down, and I want to keep checking if we seem to be doing pretty much okay in terms of this holding up. So let's go. Emma Cruz is here. Good to see you, Emma. So let's go back. Here I have found my spot. Let's have a look. Do I book a cruise or solo travel? Okay. So John, this is something that I wrestle with a lot. How do I book a cruise as a single traveler, assuming no single cabins? First time cruiser, except when I was in the Navy. So John, there's a couple of ways of doing that. Is if you are certainly planning way ahead, obviously you get the solo cabins. On my website, I need to update it actually. I do have a little tab with solo ships with solo cabins. But the best thing to do is either work with a travel agent and get them to keep looking out for solo travel deals. Or if there's any particular cruise lines that you're very interested in, sign up for the email newsletters, which is what I do. And if they're ever doing solo deals, they will promote those in there. But then it's also a good idea to keep an eye on a couple of sites that do sort of track solo deals. So Vacations to Go, for example, is not a site that I would ever book a cruise through personally, but they have great deals. But they're really good at tracking kind of solo deals that are out there. So it's a good way of kind of keeping up to date. They actually have a whole tab on their site. If you go to the site, they have a tab called Solo Deals. Also, if you do want to go with some of the more luxury lines like Silversea, for example, they also have solo deals. They normally have a tab on their website. But the key is, if you've got a travel agent that knows that you're interested in solo deals, get them to look out for it, sign up for those newsletters, and plan ahead is really the key thing, because you can get those solo cabins. One big watch out though, if you're ever booking solo cabins, is also look at what the price is for an ocean view or a balcony. So for example, Norwegian Cruise Line, they have the solo studios, which if you're happy with inside cabins, they're great. But you can often find, because they can be in demand, you can sometimes book an inside cabin, which is even a double occupancy, or sometimes even an ocean view cabin for the same price. So also just make sure when you're booking those. But unfortunately, as a solo traveler, many of the times you'll be paying for two. So it's planning is the absolute key. So Ross asking the question, what is the entertainment offering be like on the Edge? Any must do? So Ross, it's a little bit early in the cruise. They had a comedian last night, which is only on at 9:30. So I've actually seen him before, and I didn't really want to go and see him again. Sorry, answer your question. So tonight, kind of the entertainment really kicks in. So they've got the usual kind of entertainment, but they've got a lot of quiz shows, trivia in the club. They've got the first production show tonight, which I'm looking forward to. I've seen one of their production shows before in that preview thing, which I toured. They've got that very big kind of modern stage. Quite a lot of live music around, guitarists and singers and stuff. So the entertainment's been pretty similar to other cruise lines, to be honest. So the production show will be interesting because I think some of the competition, like Princess, Hon America, I think they're still behind the curve on entertainment. I know Princess, they're trying to up it, but they're not there. But certainly some of the stuff I've seen on Edge before was very promising. So I will have a better view. Next week's live stream, which is also going to be on Sunday. I get off this cruise on Saturday. Next week's live stream will also be on a Sunday, and I will talk definitely, Ross, much more about the entertainment, having had a whole week. Christina, the answer to the question is they go through the historic, they go through the old locks. So that's certainly what they have been doing up until now. Every year they've been going through the old locks. The new locks tend to be used by much bigger ships. So something like Edge, for example, can't fit through the old locks, so they go through the new locks. Some of the Royal Caribbean ships, Marina, Oceania Marina, that's what I did. We went through the old locks. So interesting, they don't know the answer, but certainly that's what they did. Livorno, thank you. I knew I was going to get that wrong. The problem is, what's happened is when I've done some videos about Italian ports, and I got all the pronunciation wrong, and people have sent me little catchphrases like Livorno and so on, and I get so in my head that I get them wrong, even though I know it was Livorno. I should have them all written down again. So thanks for that, Denzi. So let's have a look. Now I haven't heard this one, so I'll keep an eye out for this about the Mexican Baja area not being tourist friendly. So I haven't heard this one. I will keep an eye out for that. On November cruise, we're doing Mexico, parts of Mexico now. I need to have a look at that. So I will keep an eye for that, and if I have any news on that, I'll talk about that next week. So let's. There's new stories coming out about the rivers drying up in Europe. How's it affecting river cruises out there? So, diary of a griever named John Weaver. So the Rhine is in a very perilous state. So part of the Rhine, I think it was on, when did I come on board? Friday. Part of the Rhine is down to 35 centimeters at a really critical junction point. And it's affecting now, freight, which is, the Rhine is a really important big part of freight. So it's a big concern on the Rhine. I haven't seen any cancellations or much confirmation of stuff coming up, but getting along the Rhine is a really big challenge. So it's the Rhine is the key issue. The Danube at the moment seems okay. Certainly friends of mine were on the Danube 2 weeks ago, no problems at all. And they probably have more, they have lots of locks and stuff, and that seems fine at the moment. So those are the ones to watch out. The Loire is extremely low, and that is difficult at the best of times. And there's very few river cruises that go on the Loire. In fact, Crossing Europe, the Loire Princess, which I went on, has a paddle wheel, like the US paddle wheel, because it's too shallow for normal engines. So, and I've seen some pictures of the Loire. So it is a big issue. And with the rains not looking like they're coming, I think there's real worries mostly at the moment about the Rhine, but definitely you're right, something to keep keep a watch on that. So Claudia making the point about the rules around why you can't get off. Janet saying, thinking Gary's having trouble logging on. So hopefully that you're seeing that. Let me go down and just check if everything's okay. So it is a bit erratic, hopefully. No, everyone seems so. Hopefully that's fine. Hopefully that was an earlier message that came through. KB in the UK, I've heard the new concept, Celebrity Infinite balconies are very disturbing with noisy moving parts, door screens for the other person who is asleep. You mean asleep in the room? They're not massively, when I've listened to them before. They're not massively so, but you're right. They're a lot more noisy than just opening a door, I guess. So if anyone else has a view on that, let KB know that one. Okay, so good question here from D. If you upgrade to the retreat, do you get the upgrades to your drinks and Wi-Fi packages? You still get the always included. So you still get the standard package and the standard Wi-Fi package. So, for example, I upgraded myself to the premium one, and I didn't do the drink package because I don't drink, so it wasn't worth it. But I have seen, I don't know whether you go the very, like the top, if you go in the big suites, whether you get that. I've seen on their website the different options to upgrade the package. And I don't know whether the lofts and the penthouse get it. So whoever's in the lofts, it'd be good to know whether you're getting the premium one or not. So let's have a look. Rupert, we're going on P&O Azura in November, celebrating my 60th birthday. Congratulations. We both enjoyed Celebrity and Princess. We like traditional cruising with the resort Razzmatazz. Will Azura be good for us? So P&O is closest to Princess, but with more dressing up. So, much stricter dress code than Princess ever has. So, you can have the black tie. And a lot of people will wear black tie on P&O. And it's also, the other key difference is it's very kind of British. And also, I think they have a slightly different service experience, because P&O have a lot of Indian crew. Celebrity and Princess tend to do much more Filipino, Indonesian crew, and there is a slight kind of cultural difference in the approach to service. I'm not saying it's bad service, but it's a different style. It's a little bit more aloof, a little bit more formal in my experience. Whereas Filipinos and Indonesians are much more like chatty and whatever. And P&O tends to be a little, it's still friendly, it's still helpful, but a little bit more aloof. So that's a little difference. So, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm not a big fan of P&O personally. I'm a big fan of Celebrity. I quite like Princess. So, and I've had some good times on Princess. So it'll be really interesting to see that it's the same but different. I think you'll find them most different to Celebrity, just in terms of the experience and stuff. So in Azamara, I'm trying to remember what specialty restaurants are in Azamara. I can't remember. Azamara was actually with us in Rome when we were there. I think you will enjoy it, and it's a 60th birthday, so I'm pretty sure you will. So Top Conquer just got off Enchanted Princess. Have to say standards have dropped significantly, especially in the main dining room. Are you getting feedback from others that things are far? So I would agree with you. I have a video coming out next week, or is it already out? I get confused with my videos, where I talk about Princess. And no, I think it's next week's video, where I actually dive into this in a little bit more detail about what I'm seeing is working and not working at the moment. So yes, is the short answer. I think, and I think it's going to be interesting, the food. They've just recently appointed Ruzi Sodenheim, who is the person who is he was the head of the Culinary Council on Holland America, and he cranked up the food on Holland America. So I think there's good things to come from Prince Heavily. So Sherry's doing the full navigation on Iceland, so that's a really, really good choice. Top-down driver, back to talking about the Vietnam. I've done Vikings cruise and loved it. I would like to go back and try a different approach. So I think we're talking river cruising. Here. I would take a look at Amber Waterways. Now, I did Cross Europe, which I really enjoyed, but Cross Europe's not for everybody. It's a much smaller ship than all the others. I think the ship only holds 60. Was it 60? And there's only 48 when I was on. It's a much smaller ship. It's probably not as plush as, say, Vikings, probably not as plush as Amorte, but it's a very small, intimate ship. Food was good. You like to have a lot of French travelers on. I think there was 3 English people. There was a Japanese couple and myself, but they were very good at dealing with that. The good news about it is we had a guide. So the others would have, we had one guide for 3 people on all the tours, and they would have all the French would have 6 or 7 or 8. So they're interesting to look at. But Amber Waterways have very nice ships, and they've been there a really good time. Tom and Dom are just back from Iceland. That's right. They had a great time on Princess. So let's have a look quickly. Let's see if we can, let's have a quick, let's say one more question. Let's see, I feel like I missed the question. I'm quickly looking for signs which take questions. Let's answer this one, a more general one. Maureen, are there still cruise lines you would like to or plan to try? Yes, there are many cruise lines, and as we already heard today, Swan Hellenic, Scenic, Ambassador. There are so many cruise lines that I desperately would like to try, and I feel like I'm sort of running out of, not running out of time, but just I'm running out of time to pack them all in because I can't go away. So what I do is I actually have, maybe I'll show it at the next live stream. I have a list that I keep of all the cruise lines that I still want to try and all the itineraries and places that I want to do. And I thought this list would get shorter, and it keeps getting longer as it goes. So there are many lines that we've spoken about, and more which I can't even remember offhand. So wow, we have churned through an hour already, and I hope this wasn't too bad. I'll take a look back in terms of the time, etc. So next live stream will be, excuse me, next Sunday. It will be on Sunday, back home. So hopefully we'll have good Wi-Fi again, and I can talk more a little bit around what it was. Sorry, I keep having these. Let me take these questions off. So I'm getting distracted now. So let me see if I can take that out. There we go. No. So it'll be next Sunday, usual time. And as I said, hopefully much better Wi-Fi. I'll be able to talk much more about this. As I said, watch that video, which has been hugely popular if you haven't had a chance to watch that. Thanks so much for joining. And sorry if I didn't get to your question. I do go back and have a look at the questions and try and answer them either in shorts or in forthcoming videos. So have a great rest of the weekend, and stay safe.